Check. 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 2 hours into this long show of Raider Football Talk with me, your host, Mikey Raider. It says it on the shirt. It makes it true in life. This is Raider Football Talk, your weekly dive into Raider hot topics, Raider latest news, a little bit of game summaries, but most importantly, a lot of my opinions and fun. Please hit up that hotline so your phone calls will be on a future show where I can critique you, I can listen to it on air, and we can discuss. Please call up that hotline, leave some information, and we will get into it. All right, the preseason is basically almost ending. We're also coming up on the final cut down day for rosters. So the Raiders got a lot of players that are inspiring in preseason, and let's just kind of come up with who I believe will make the team and who is on the bubble and who may or may not be cut. Let's take a look at the Raiders roster and the possible final roster when the Raiders have to cut down from 80 to 55, I believe it is, within about a week before the season begins. First off, there was a lot of retired players in the NFL in general this year. Is it due to vaccine mandates, COVID? I do not know. But it's very interesting because the Raiders had 3 of them. Apparently James Onawalu retired. Running back Theo Riddick retired. And veteran Sam Young, the offensive tackle, retired as well. Who knows why and for what reasons? But it's kind of interesting that around the NFL, not only with the Raiders, there was a lot of players that retired. Makes you think. These players are on the Raider unable to perform, the PUP list as of now, or the non-injury football list, which may be the COVID list, according to the Raiders.com website. But I do believe they make the team. That's why they have a green arrow at their respective positions. So we got Divine Diablo, the Raider draft pick. I believe he makes the team, even though he's on the PUP. And Isaiah Johnson, the cornerback, the draft pick from a couple years back, I do believe makes the team at their respective positions. Then Kamal Seymour, he's a tackle. I also believe he makes the team as a backup or depth. Now let's start on the defensive side of the ball with all the players. All right, so Matt Dickerson, the defensive tackle, number 95. I don't believe he makes the team. He may be a practice squad or whatever. Again, I don't know that much about him. But the ones in the red arrows, they could be practice players or cut from the team or whatever, from my opinion. Jonathan Hankins, starter, makes the team. Quentin Jefferson, probably a starter, makes the team. Gerald McCoy, I still think he makes the team, even though he hasn't played that much, coming off an injury. He's got such a big name, a big veteran presence, that maybe we could use him as depth down the stretch when he's a little more healthier. I believe he makes the team. Darius Philion, who's been on the team for a couple of years, I don't believe he makes the team or a practice squad. He might be a practice squad. Niall Scott, same thing. Darius Stills, same thing. Then Solomon Thomas, coming off an injury. Some might think he doesn't make the team, but I saw him play a little bit so far in the preseason. Plus, his upside is huge. So I could see him making the team. Now let's go to defensive edge rusher. Max Crosby makes the team. Cleveland Farrell, they've been using him at defensive tackle recently. But he can go anywhere, as a depth player. And he is a depth player. I don't think he's a starter right now, according to the Raiders. So that kind of sucks to get a draft pick that they all said was too high, that we drafted him to possibly be the backup or second string in your second year. But he's a good player. I'm not saying he's bad, but just he hasn't lived up to the potential of where he was possibly drafted. But if he's a good football player for many years to come, whether it be second string or occasional starter, so be it. I believe he makes the team, which we all know he will. Gary Green, do not believe he makes the team or practice. He might make practice squad. Malcolm Kuntz has played pretty good this preseason. I see him as possibly taking over for the Cleveland Farrell spot and the Max Crosby spot. They might go in and out, or the Yannick Ngakoue spot, depending on the situation. You know, they mix and match. Carl Nassib, again, they're not going to get rid of him. He makes the team. Yannick Ngakoue, stud, makes the team. And then I kind of had differences on Kendall Vickers. I believe he makes the team, and this is all depending on the injuries to the other players I just mentioned. But Kendall Vickers is a good player. I believe he makes the team, but I put the red arrow because he could be a casualty, but he could end up being on the practice squad as well. That was an interesting one that I really didn't know the answer to with Kendall Vickers. Now let's look at the linebacker side of the ball. Asmiar Bilal does not make the team, or he could be practice squad. I do not know. Tevon Cooney, I believe he makes the team. Some might say he's going to be practice squad because he's an undrafted from a couple years back that was practice squad last year. But I think he might make the official team this year. Nick Kwiatkowski makes the team. Darren Lee does not make the team or a practice squad, or maybe he makes practice squad. Corey Littleton makes the team, high price free agent. Nicholas Morrow. Now, the reason why I put Tevin Cooney makes the team is possibly because of these injuries that we're going to speak about. I don't know Nicholas Morrow's injury right now from the game the other day with the Rams, but of course he makes the team if he's not injured out for the season. Or Tevin Cooney might replace him. And then Tanner Muse has been playing a lot, and he makes the team. Max Richardson, I don't think he makes the team. He didn't look that good to me when I saw him in preseason. But and then Javon White got injured. Some are fearing he's out for the season. But he should make the team if he wasn't injured. He was balling out. But again, Javon White might be lost for the season. So a player like Tevon Cooney, another undrafted player like Javon White, might play or take his space. So that's my results with linebackers. Now let's go to the cornerback side of the ball. All right, Damon Arnett did not play the other day. I guess there's an injury there as well. But he makes the team. Casey Hayward, our free agent, makes the team. Nate Hobbs, 5th round, 4th round, whatever it was, balling out. Gruden basically gave him the game ball last week versus the Rams, which basically says, hey, kid, no matter where you were drafted, you made the team. Nate Hobbs makes the team, whether it be nickelback or starting cornerback is to be seen. Nevin Lawson's been with the Raiders for a couple of years, keeps coming back to our team. I believe this is the final year where he does not make the team and he is released. I don't think he'll take a practice squad spot. Because you got to remember, if the Raiders release a player, they can be picked up by another team, practice squad or whatever, or get a contract before they can come back to the Raiders practice squad, if no offers. So I believe Nevin Lawson is gone. Trayvon Mullen makes the team. Keyshawn Nixon, another draft pick that they believe in, whether he's playing good or not. He still makes the team because he's a draft pick. Then Amik Robinson, who was injured almost all of last year, we still got to see anything from him, and he's a draft pick that they believe in still. So he makes the team. Then Badi Ray Wilson, I don't believe he makes the team, or he's a practice squad invite, which we do not know. Now let's look at the big position of note, in my mind, the last line of defense. We're talking about our safeties. Jonathan Abram makes the team, but they've been using him in the preseason as second string. I know he's technically probably the starter, and they just want to get some game film and him to play a lot to learn, but he technically was mostly second string in this preseason. maybe due to injuries to Carl Joseph or whoever else. But you would think that they would have played, like, in the second quarter, third quarter, they would play Dalen Levitt and Trayvon Morrig more. But they did have Jonathan Abram in there in, I think, both of the games till the second quarter. Pretty interesting. But he's probably the starter. I'm not going to worry about it. Carl Joseph is on the team as backup. Dalen Levitt will make the team again. He's a good player. The Raiders love him. Trayvon Morrig, the draft pick, makes the team. Tyree Gillespie, even though I believe he's a draft pick, I think he might be cut. It's kind of weird to say that, but he might make practice squad, but I think he's a cut casualty. Then Roderick Teamer, I think he's cut as well. All right, let's look at the offensive side of the ball from here. Maybe you guys agree with my opinions. Maybe you don't. It's okay. Please hit that like, that thumbs up, that subscribe button if there is any. Leave some comments below so I can read them when we're done. Derek Carr makes the team. Marcus Mariota makes the team. Nathan Peterman makes the team. So you got one big green arrow. I'm really sad that I didn't see Marcus Mariota in week 2 live. But I'm impressed with what I saw from Peterman. Getting some playing time, getting better. I'm really hoping to watch Derek Carr in week 3 of the preseason, at least a little bit. But none of these players get cut. None of these players get cut. Let's look at the center position. And this is very interesting because we got Andre James. He looked pretty good. He had some mistakes in the preseason. Nick Martin looked good in the first game. Nick Martin looked really bad in the second game. And then Jimmy Morrissey played a lot in the second game versus the Rams. And, boy, he got beat a ton. He's a 7th round draft pick. But here's the truth. I think all of these players make the team. But I believe Jimmy Morrissey will be on the practice squad as depth for the future. Because anything can happen to these centers. Anything can happen. And if Andre James or Nick Barton or any of them get injured, you're going to need Jimmy Morrissey, your draft pick, on the roster or at least practice squad to bring him up. So even though I got the arrow that he'll be cut and then he'll be offered practice squad. And unless some other team picks him up, that's what I believe will happen for Jimmy Morrissey. Now let's look at the offensive guard position. Lester Cotton Sr. came back to the team. He makes the team. He looked okay in the preseason so far. Week 3 is going to be a big thing. Denzel Good makes the team. Richie Incognito makes the team. John Simpson makes the team. Then Jar Jones-Smith, again, either one of these players that I'm going to mention could be practice squad for depth. But Jar Jones-Smith is cut. Patrick Omameh is cut or practice squad. And their depth, did you notice? They could play tackle as well. That's why one of them might make practice squad because they're valuable as depth for other positions. Now let's look at the official tackle positions from Raiders.com. Devery Hamilton, I believe he's cut. Or maybe he makes practice squad depending on what they think of him. But Alex Leatherwood, the draft pick, makes the team. Colton Miller makes the team. And Brandon Parker makes the team. Let's look at the running back situation. And we have some surprises here that I did not notice 3 months back. Kenyon Drake, we all know, makes the team. Then we had players that looked pretty good in the preseason so far, like B.J. Emmons and Garrett Groshek. But I believe both of them will be cut in the final results. Either one of them could possibly be put on practice squad. They've looked that good to me. Josh Jacobs makes the team. And then here's the interesting story that I did not see happening. First off, Jalen Richard got a contract a couple years back. Gruden, the team loves him. He does and says all the right things. But he's injured. So that left an open spot possibly for the third string running back beyond Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs to do some things. That's where B.J. Emmons, Garrett Groshak, and Trey Ragish, or should I call him, and Trey Vegas, come in. Well, Trey Vegas has looked fantastic. Fantastic behind that O-line. Even when they're making mistakes, our running offensive line is balling out. Our run game is going to be much, much dominant this year. Trey Ragish makes the team. No doubt. And Jalen Ragish might be on the injury report for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, the PUP, the IR, whatever you want to call it. But he still makes the team. He ain't going to be cut unless the injury is that bad that he can't play this whole year, and then his contract is over. You might as well release him if the injury is that bad. So the Raiders, on the official roster, of course, one of them will probably go to IR or whatever. But depending on how many players now they could have on IR, blah, blah, blah. But I believe the Raiders hold 4 running backs and the fullback, Alec Ingold. I know I'm not even going to mention fullbacks. Alec Ingold is the fullback that makes the team. The other fullback that we got rowing, it might be a practice squad player or a running back that we keep for practice squad. But man, Trey Vegas, interesting. I like what I see from that young man. Now, let's look at another interesting position. The tight end. We all know who our starters are. But I believe the Raiders hold 4 tight ends on the official roster. Not practice squad. Talking the official roster. The truth is, one of them will be practice squad or not dress or whatever the situation is. But I believe these 4 players make the roster. My namesake, Nick Bowers. My last name is Bauer, not Bowers. But it's awesome to have a player on the team named Nick Bowers. If you put an M there, it becomes like Mike Bauer. Like me. But I believe he makes the team. He caught a couple of passes in the preseason. Matt Bushman, I don't know. I don't think he makes the team at all. Derek Carrier makes the team. He's that good, knows the system, makes big plays when called upon, makes the team. Alex Ellis has looked decent, blocking-wise as well, but I don't think he makes the final roster. We got Foster Moreau, the draft pick from a few years back, coming off of an injury or two. Still looking good, getting better. Then we got Darren Waller. But I believe we have 4 tight ends on the roster. 4 tight ends on the roster. Because if any one of those players get injured, whether it be like Foster Moreau or Derek Carrier, you're going to need Nick Bowers to play. Because the Raiders use a lot of 2 tight end sets with Gruden. So if you only filled a roster of 3 tight ends in a game, which they might do a lot, like I said, if one of those tight ends go out, then you have to bring in the other tight end, and basically they're the starting lineup. But if a second tight end is out for a play or two, then you got to put Alec Ingold in there or something like that. But they're going to keep 4 tight ends. They're going to keep 4 tight ends. All right, let's go to the wide receiver roster. And we're going to have some interesting decisions here. Marshall Aitman caught a touchdown or 2 in the preseason. Been with the Raiders for years. Everybody loves him because he loves to eat, man. He ate this weekend versus the Rams. But I think this is finally the end for Marshall Aitman. I believe he will be cut. And again, depending on if another team signs him so he can make some money, the Raiders would definitely offer a practice squad spot for Marshall Aitman. But again, I don't know if he's going to come back if another team doesn't request him off of waivers. But he will be cut. Then we got John Brown, free agent, coming in. He makes the team. I haven't seen him at all during the preseason. Keelan Doss is another interesting cut. been with the team for a few years, plays his heart out. But I believe he'll be cut. That's why I have the pink star next to them, because they might go to another stupid team. But if they become available and they're not picked up off of waivers after they are cut, I guarantee you with Marshall Aitman and Keelan Dosh, the Raiders would offer a practice squad placement for both of them or either one of them. Remember the history with Marshall Aitman when he got picked up by the Jaguars? That was funny. Or was that Keelan Dosh? I think it might have been Keelan Dosh, but interesting story. Brian Edwards makes the team. I thought Zay Jones was going to be cut. I literally thought Zay Jones would be cut. I thought he was one of the players that would be cut before this training camp started. But, man, he making plays. He making plays. He looked that good. And he was with the starting lineup in week 1 and week 2. Caught a couple of balls. He making plays. He looks good. He makes the team. Maybe the last wide receiver on the team, but he makes the team. Then we got Hunter Renfrow, third in Renfrow. Henry Ruggs makes the team. Then Willie Snead. Some might think he doesn't make the team. I haven't seen him in the preseason. I don't know what's going on. Does he have an injury? I do not know. I haven't been following as closely as many of you think I should. But I believe he makes the team. I mean, he's Willie Snead. Then we got Dylan Stoner, DJ Turner. I believe both of them are cut. And depending on Marshall Aitman and Keelan Dosh, if they come back to the practice squad, Dylan Stoner or DJ Turner would be the players that would come back to the Raiders practice squad. If Marshall Aitman or Keelan Dosh are picked up by another team and or do not come back to the Raiders practice squad, it'll be Dylan Stoner or DJ Turner. So there it is. We basically start the season with 6 wide receivers on our roster. Some would think that we only have 5. And on some days, depending on positional value on other sides of the ball, a player like Zay Jones or whatever might not dress for one game or something like that, you know, to have a positional value for another spot open. But there it is. That's my predictions for the final 55. I didn't add the numbers up. I do not know if they equaled 55 players. I do not care. But it was fun doing it. And I had a good time.